Hi everybody, how you doing? I'm Pabs, a rising VTuber and artist, and why am I so tiny today? Look at me, I'm minuscule. I'm like an ant at my desk. Well, as long as I can still hold my pen, it should be fine for today, you know? We're doing a little bit more comic work tonight. Here we go. Yeah, it's gonna be a nice relaxing night, hopefully. Ideally. Nothing's gonna explode. I can guarantee this much. It's always funny that, like, when you guarantee that something bad won't happen, but, like, that bad thing is, like, something extreme, it's almost like a guarantee that that'll happen. I do promise that there will be no explosions, though. I think I can hold myself to that one. You know, I have something of a talent for not exploding things. It's a gift of mine that, like, when I touch something, it doesn't explode. I know that's not, I hear that that's actually quite challenging for a few people. Here we go. Yeah. If I seem more perky than usual, it's because I took a nap right before stream, so I'm feeling very refreshed. Okay. So yeah, we'll be working on page 9 of the comic tonight. I can probably stretch the canvas down a little bit, like that. Yeah, squatching and stretching CSP to kind of like fit the, you know, fully take advantage of the area on the stream is always kind of a hobby of mine. The fact of the matter is that I've always found, or at least I feel like there's no reasonable way to kind of like achieve a happy medium with showing what's on screen, you know, unless you're like a live streamer who, hang on, there we go. Unless you're like a proper meat space live streamer, right? I feel like it's difficult to not have a little bit of your model cover up the screen, because if people might remember that there was a time when I had my model, you know, particularly for gaming streams. I didn't do it so much for like art streams, but for gaming streams, I used to completely, you know, I used to make the, what do you call, the screen fit the stretch to fit the kind of like area, right? Yeah, I don't do that anymore. I now kind of keep it there in like this top corner. I do that for the CSP as well, for the art streams. And it's worked out pretty well, you know? I'm actually quite happy with how it's working so far. Although I am worried that, you know, I'm always worried that I'm not like doing enough, so to say. Like, I feel like I'm on a pretty decent like graphic design shit, but, you know, I'd always wonder if I could be doing more. And I'm happy with where I'm at, but like I said, like, there are times when you like don't need to touch something anymore. I think like there was this one YouTuber who called it like her too much gene, I think, or something. I remember my friend showed me some of her videos. I don't remember her name though. But yeah, I feel like very often there are times when like whether you're working on an art piece or something, or if you're like creating something, there is a moment in time when you need to let it go. Like, you need to let it go, because otherwise, if you keep like messing with it and if you keep like touching with it, you're going to overcook it, so to speak. You know the phrase like "let them cook"? Sometimes you need to like stop someone from cooking, not because what they're making is bad, but because otherwise they'll overcook it. Yeah, but that's my personal philosophy. Sometimes you need to like look at a piece and say, yeah, this is done. Of course, I don't always manage to do that, right? Like, especially if it's like more meaningful to you, you might be like, oh, but what if I did it like this? What if I did it like that? Sometimes you just, you know, sometimes you just gotta close your eyes and hit send, so to speak. Yeah. I've mentioned this before. I used to be really bad at sending emails out of work, not because I was like bad at making them, but like because I kind of like also hemmed and hawed and fretted over them. So nowadays what I do is like, if I feel like an email is more or less done, I will basically like close my eyes and say eeny meeny miny go, and then just hit send and pray that for the best. Like, I like to think that I'm pretty good at sending emails. I've been told on more than one occasion that I can't turn off like my office mode, so to speak. Yeah, like, even if I'm texting like a friend or something, it sounds like I'm talking to a coworker. And if you have experienced that before, I am sorry. Like, I don't mean to do it, and I imagine that it must not be a particularly pleasant experience, so I feel like I should apologize at least a little bit. But I guess it's just the way that I'm built. I always err on the side of like over formal. That's my thing as well, that I tend to like be overly formal. You know, if all else fails, I like turn to protocol to kind of inform how I should act. It's not necessarily a bad thing, although, but it does make me feel a little bit odd to talk to at times, I imagine. But I guess that's just another one of those things that makes me me, right? It can't be that bad. Unlike erasing a person's entire leg like I did just now, that might net you a few enemies. From what I hear, most people are rather attached to their legs. I guess the only person who wouldn't be attached to their leg would be somebody like Rayman or something, right? Okay, this line is trolling me. There we go. Now, is that so hard? No, hang on. Something about these pants is annoying me. I think I need to move the leg back. Yeah, like, look over here. I made them, like, fairly tight at the top, but very loose at the bottom. I need to follow that idea. Consistency is key. Even if it looks weird, if you're consistent with it, it's no longer weird. That's another thing, right? You know how, like, when you hang out with people, you eventually learn to adopt the way they speak? Similar idea. If you eventually keep doing something long enough, and other people just, or like if you keep drawing something a specific way for long enough, people are just going to start to recognize, oh, that's just how they do things. It's one thing, of course, if this is like a skill issue and you don't like how it looks either, but if it's just how you do things sometimes, then that's fine. I reckon it's not that big of a problem. Yeah, like I said, the main issue comes is like you're not happy with it, right? If you want to change, or if you feel motivated to change, then obviously you ought to do something about it. If it bothers you, it has to be for a reason, right? Let's see. It bothers me that because of, I've mentioned this before, I have something of a fixation on giving everybody that I draw at least a little bit of cake. So having everybody wear clothes that makes them look flat ass is a little bit of a personal wound to me. But I suppose this is just how it must be done. To preserve peace in the galaxy. Hmm. Yeah, something about this body is like all wrong. I need to move up the torso first thing. Yeah, I know. I thought that would be what's bothering me. It's always the torso, man. It's always the torso. I make the torsos too tiny. Okay, so this would be the hips. Okay, then the middle of the back. Then the lungs. I think that it's something about the shoulders as well. I think that might be bothering me. I don't draw people from this angle very often. Yeah, no, this other shoulder's like definitely like way too high up. Maybe this one could also use a bit of a I was about to say a little bit of a letdown, but I don't think that's the right word at all. Yeah, that guy could use a little bit of a letdown. That's such a mean thing to say. I've always liked the phrase like knock him down a couple of pegs, right? But the phrase like because I feel like that one feels like whoever is being spoken about like earned whatever's coming to them. But, you know, he could use a letdown almost sounds cruel. There's a difference between like getting shown the food chain and, you know, actively being disappointed, I think. Yeah, something about this is like bothering me a lot. All right, I'm gonna bring in. I'm gonna. Should I do it? I want to bring in a model just in case. I've started. It's been a little bit of a point of pride of mine that I haven't used a model in a few pages at least. So having to use one now really. It's not a bad thing to use a pose reference, but I thought, you know, art is definitely not like a fluid thing. It has also been a while since I've drawn the comic. I was supposed to draw more on Monday, but the thing is that, right, I had that scheduling error, then, you know, I had I had a break on Tuesday because I didn't have anything planned special for Valentine's Day. Yeah. I like Valentine's Day. It's cute. I made like hella posts for it, right? I made a bunch of posts for Valentine's Day, and that's fine. That's awesome. But I do also recognize that I personally don't have anything special to put to like do or play on that day. So I try to not stream that day. You know, because I actually did toy with the idea of playing Transistor during that game because it's the only you know, dating sims take a while to complete, and Transistor was the only game that I could think of that could reasonably be beaten in a single sitting and was still kind of tangentially romance themed. Kind of. Transistor is about a lot of things. All right. Oh god, what is with that hand? Put that thing away. Hang on. Okay, here's how we do it. But yeah, Transistor is the only game that I own that feels like it could be about romance. Yeah, like I said, Transistor is about a lot of things. It's about a lady who uses a sword. It's about, you know, helping people no matter the cause. It's about memories. It's about what love means to different people. But it's also a game that's at least 7-ish hours to beat, I want to say. It takes a minute. Like, you can, I mean, for sure you can do it in one sitting. Most Supergiant's games, with the exception of like Hades, I think you could reasonably beat in a single sitting. Okay, hang on. I got to tense these shoulders up. You know, like a lot of the older Supergiant games, you could definitely beat in a single sitting. Yeah, Transistor, Bastion, maybe not. Actually, on second thought, you might not be able to beat Bastion in a single sitting. Come to think of it. Hmm. No, I do want to have her in the full thing. So she'd need to be a little bit closer. Hmm. Oh wait, grab a handle. This is gonna be the one. Oh god, okay? The thumb is very aggro on this. That does not say that does not to me say like I'm extending my hand to you in peace. That is like place your hand and I shall swipe it like an eagle with its mighty talons. I think it's a thumb. It might also be the direction of the fingers. Hang on. Okay, here's how we do it. Okay, once over. But you know, Pyre is another one that you can beat in a single sitting. I beat Pyre in a single sitting. Yeah, that's something that was a very interesting and also somewhat strange night of my life. I remember. I don't actually. Okay, I don't. Hang on, I can look it up because I played Pyre one time, beat it, and then I never touched it again. Let me look this up. October 29th, 2021. So that would have been like the very end of the month when I started streaming. God, that is actually really funny. Shit, it has been like 2 years now almost, right? Oh, well, no, it hasn't almost been 2 years. It's been 1 year and a little bit. But man, that feels weird. You know, it's not good to compare yourself to other people, but I recently had somebody I follow on Twitter talk about like their 1 year streaming anniversary and how they've grown in year one. And I am impressed about how far they've come. You know, obviously they must have like a different like attitude towards it. I think that's definitely it. You know, a lot of it is determined in like what you find progress in. I was impressed by what they were talking about because those were things that I thought I personally would have had some difficulty doing. But you know, maybe I do some stuff that they find impressive too. Yeah. Whenever I'm like tempted to be like hard on myself for my progress and or lack thereof as a streamer, which what would that even be, right? Like I guess view counts or like what do you call like numbers and everything. Watching the number go up, right? That's like the big end game to a lot of this shit. You know, viewership and engagement. And whenever I think about like trying to be hard on myself for any of that shit, I remember that like for most of the time that I've been doing this, I've been either one doing like fairly rigorous training course, and two holding a full-time job down, or both at once in some cases. And I've still managed to stream more than like you know, everybody was handing around those like Twitch recaps at the beginning of the year, right? And I like noticed that I streamed a lot, like way like significantly more than like a lot of other people that I knew, and I felt proud of myself for doing that because you know I don't have the numbers. I might not have the follow numbers. I don't give a shit because I've been here, I've been consistent, and I'm doing the things that bring me happiness, which is dope as hell, actually. Yeah, I feel like I mentioned this way too much, but honestly, I feel like I can't talk enough about like just how beneficial live streaming has been to me in a lot of ways. You know, everybody always talks about, like, oh, I have a Steam library full of games that I'll never play. Oh, I never find time for my hobbies. Oh, I don't, like, know people who are into the same stuff as I am. I'm like finding all of those things, right? By live streaming, I'm creating an obligation to myself to do those things, not only do them, but also enjoy them and make others smile with them. Or at least that's my mission, right? At the end of the day, my mission as a VTuber is to, or as a streamer in general, as an entertainer, as your favorite bag of rice, possibly the only bag of rice that you are on speaking terms with. My goal is to make people smile. So, and while that can sound a little bit cheesy, I know, well, I guess it depends on your perspective as well. But yeah, that is my goal at the end of the day as a streamer. So as long as I'm being able to do that a little by little, I think that's why like viewership stuff doesn't bother me. Like I said, it's more being impressed with what others have accomplished. I've mentioned this before. I have a bad tendency to be easily impressed. But the fact of the matter is that doing anything these days is actually kind of fucking hard. So I don't think being easily impressed is necessarily a bad thing. Also, man, this model really helped out. Like, I feel much better about this now. I am going to raise her shoulder just a little bit here for like an added effect. And also because the models on Clip Studio Paint have fucking cicadia, like... Cicadia is not a real word. I'm thinking of circadian, but I'm also thinking of cicada, the insect. Circadian... I guess that would be something that relates to cicadas, huh? In terms of just like etymology / entomology. And that's always been a fun little mix-up between like word terms, right? Like entomology, which is the study of insects, versus etymology, the study of the origins of words. My favorite part of any Wikipedia page is the etymology section. Straight up, I love learning where the name and everything for stuff came from. Seriously, I love learning about like the origins of words and everything. If I wasn't fucking fighting for my life trying to come up with cartoonish fake words for a comic or something, I would be deep diving Wiktionary just for funsies. I mean, granted, an actual language expert would probably beat my ass for the word crimes that I do, but I find that's like my jam in most things. I enjoy doing shit and making it either look easy or doing it in such a profoundly wrong way that it amuses or terrifies experts in the matter. The neat thing is that sometimes you can accomplish both at once. There we go. Hang on, I'm trying to think about how the fabric would hang off. Recently, it's been bothering me more and more about just how Emilian's big, long, swingy sleeves works. Oh, I think I might have gotten it. Hang on. No, no, that's not right. All right, I need to switch the angle on this. There we go. I like that one. There we go. Perfect. Okay. Yeah. Now, what was I going to talk about today? I had a couple of things ready, but I don't remember them at all. There are some days when like I get good stuff from the newsletters that I sign up for, stuff that's like interesting for me to talk to, but a lot of the other times is either too depressing or too, I just like feel like people would not be interested. So that's why sometimes I just have to fill the time with like random stuff that I talk about. Oh yeah. It's true that after Valentine's, apparently like the price of chocolate goes down by quite a bit, right? Or at least like there's a discount on it. I'm not too big of a chocolate guy myself these days, but it might be worth looking into. Yeah, it's never a bad idea to have some chocolate on hand. If you're feeling low or if you just like need a random thing to like give to someone, chocolate's a pretty safe bet most of the time, unless they hate sweets. And then, hey, you've got dark chocolate, right? Use that. Just another reason to stock up. You need multiple kinds. Okay, I feel like... Hang on. I feel like this needs to be like lengthened and flattened like this. Perfect. Okay, then after that... Probably the rest of a million spotted would probably be the right place to start. Hang on. My wrists have been feeling a little bit like stiffer than usual tonight. I have been working a lot out of my normal day job. I've been doing good work though, apparently. So I'm happy with the amount of work that I do. Let's see. Okay. There we go. That's the shape I was looking for. Yeah, having the models around really helps a lot. Yeah. I used to like, I used to not understand why people didn't use like 3D models and, why they kind of like felt proud of not using references and everything until, I stopped using models for just like a few pages worth of work. And once I realized I needed models, I'm like, so what a waste of time, right? I think it's less so just, pride and everything, more so than the fact that it's just a slight inconvenience. I feel like, at least for me personally, that's what it felt like to me, right? Not using models. Just that it wasn't necessarily frustrating, although I guess it kind of was. But yeah, the frustrating part wasn't that I was not as skilled as I thought I was. The frustrating part was that I needed to spend more time on this than I had previously. Yeah. I found like personally working an office job has found me like that's the one thing that like people want to hear the most is that this will not take any more time than the original thing would have. Like, they're always afraid of like expanding the scope and everything, as they should be, because it is work, it is additional work that someone's going to need to do, that someone's going to need to pay for, somebody's going to get dunked on down the line. Eventually the shit will flow downstream far enough that somebody's going to need to pay for it. So I find that people are always very relieved or very happy when you can say, "Oh yeah, don't worry, this won't take any more time than the original," or like this won't take very long at all, or this is even part of the original plan. So that reassures them a lot. Yeah, maybe it's just because of my role and what I do, but people always seem to like, be like very tense. Yeah, a lot of these folks are more scared of you than you are of them, which is quite frank, not to sound like a tyrannical leader or anything, but it's quite frankly better than the alternative, than that they think that you're a dumbass. Those guys usually are difficult to work with, but eventually you all sort it out. Although sometimes it does take a few misunderstandings. But yeah, working with a diverse range of clients, I think, has been very beneficial to me. Not only because like I get to see like how it's like seeing different parts of the world almost. It's like seeing little ecosystems within each firm. I always think that's very nice. I always feel like that's a big perk of the job is that you get to see like a lot of different people's ways of working. Also, speaking of ways of working, I should probably not be like just using the massive platform boots in the place of feet. I feel like that would have like consequences near to the top. But oh well. Shit happens. Got it. I've been rereading early chapters of Grappler Baki because I looked up Baki movement references for working on some of the action sequences, right? Because hang on, let me pull these up a little bit, just real quick. These are some action panels from the manga Baki the Grappler, and some of the other spin-offs and everything. and they just have like very good action lines. I really enjoy the way that like movement, motion, and just like the sheer power of everything is portrayed. And I'm trying to incorporate a little bit of that into my own art style. You know, there are still some missing pieces. Like, for example, I don't think like, you know, I hadn't noticed until very recently that this guy's off foot, you know, the non-leading foot is swishing back like that in order to even like give more force. That's something I didn't notice before. But yeah, I remember that Baki was a thing that existed. And I started rereading it, and holy shit. It's bad. Like, listen, there are some pretty like hype moments in early Baki, but a lot of it is just like, I feel like a lot of it is just like pure bullshit, because they had like a parody of the wrestler Giant Baba. Like, they called him like Mount Toba or something, and there was just like, I feel like it had so much going on. I'm surprised that it managed to, you know, the thing is about manga, it's not like American comics where if it runs poorly, the character just isn't used again. It's like that, but all because, like, you know, of the because of the strong copyright stuff in the U.S. If a comic doesn't sell well, then, you know, the character is still in the, what do you call it, in the series roster, and eventually, you know, somebody's either going to rework that character, they're going to like introduce it as like a bit character in another series or something. It'll come back in some way, shape, or form. Like, it'll always return, because they all, you know, picking up some like older character and just reimagining them is so much easier than just developing a new one from scratch that readers are unfamiliar with. Because with older characters, you have, you know, even if it's like an obscure one, readers have something to work with, and they have something to be able to expect, which is why, you know, superhero comics are structured the way they are. You know, like, even though they can have dramatically different writers, if you pick up a Superman comic, right, you're gonna more or less expect to understand how Superman will behave. Superman has like a very consistent method of acting, I feel. You know, and, well, no, I should clarify that I haven't read a whole lot of Western comics, is the thing. So this is just like my take on it. Obviously, like, depending on the right, but, you know, and me hearing about like other people grumbling about, like, you know, the character not being written correctly. So I imagine there is an issue of like the character not being written correctly, and, you know, people griping about it. But the fact of the matter is, you know, the character is still just there. They're just not relevant. On the other hand, mangas are in like a serialized publication, Shonen Jump, for example, and if they don't do well enough, they get axed. And naturally, Shonen Jump will still have some of the copyrights to that manga, you know, in case it ever gets like an anime adaptation, or it ever gets like reworked somehow. You know, I imagine the author has some of the rights to it, but like the magazine itself will have way more of the rights, I imagine. But because of the way that works, it means that like that's why a lot of like the random ass pulls that you see happening a lot in manga is because like the writers need something big and drastic to, you know, maintain the story and serialization, you know, so the readers are like, yeah, man, we need to see what happens in fucking Dragon Ball next week. We want to see what happens. Does Piccolo get another power up or whatever? And because of that, I feel like there's a very different kind of energy to manga. You know, it has that pressure. Like, a lot of the time, if a series in like Western comics is planned, I imagine that like, unless something really drastic happens, they'll just finish that series and just never touch it again if it sucks, right? I that's what I imagine, at least. You know, you hear a lot about like manga getting the axe. I don't think like, I mean, no, some Western comics look at the axe. I should do more research on this before I talk about it at length, as I am right now. What was I saying? Right. Okay. But yeah, early Baki just feels so fucking poorly paced and weird. And really unrealistically written. I do enjoy Baki as a thing. Like, I like Baki because it presents like an astounding level of bullshit in such a way that you're like, that couldn't be real, right? And then you read about it some more and you're like, oh shit, it's based on like an actual thing. It's just, but it is very much bullshit. Yeah, hang on, I gotta drink some water. Right, like for example, one of the examples that I can think of right now is Dopo Orochi. One of the characters in the manga is a masterclass grandmaster karateka. He's like the Edison Tesla of karate. I called him the Edison Tesla right now, didn't I? That's not a real person. Edison Tesla was not a real historical figure, as far as I can understand it. But yeah, he's basically like the karate guy. Like in a manga that centralizes itself around martial arts, he is the designated representative of karate and has all the kind of badassery that justifies. And he is awesome. Like, Dopo Orochi is awesome as hell. I love the guy. But very early on, right, we get introduced to the protagonist Baki's father, Yujiro Hanma, who is a right bastard and also the most dangerous organism on Earth, human or otherwise. But yeah, we get introduced to Yujiro Hanma and immediately fucking Dopo Orochi's like, Yujiro, I'm gonna kick your ass. And Yujiro's like, huh, you might have the qualifications to kick my ass, but you're not gonna kick my ass because I'm gonna kick your ass first. And, you know, they have like this big dramatic meeting to say like, yeah, we're gonna have a duel with these two later on. And Baki, who knows damn well how dangerous Yujiro is like, listen, Dopo, if you do this, he's gonna fucking murder you. You're going to be turned into a fine red paste across the ring. And Dopo is like, worry not, young man. I am a badass. And, like, you know, he brings Baki to, like, a dojo where a bunch of like, disciple karatekas who are, like, all, like, triple black belts or some shit go at him at once, and he just beats the crap out of them, right? Those guys never stood a chance. They never will. And Dopo's like, haha, see that, young man? I'm perfectly capable of beating your dad's ass. And Baki's like, this guy might actually have the qualifications. And he's like, if you still have your doubts, why don't you kick my ass as well? And Baki's like, I don't know how comfortable I feel as a 17-year-old beating the ass of like a 50-year-old. And Dopo's like, what are you, a pussy? And then Baki immediately tries to kick him in the nuts. Which fails, because Dopo apparently has a technique that lets him, like, hide his testicles in his abs or something. And he's like, this is a normal ass technique of karate. Every karateka knows this. And I googled it, and it's a fake ass technique. It's not a real thing. Well, like I said, because it's a lot of like obscure both karate and like Eastern martial arts shit, I don't know if it's bullshit. Like, I don't know enough about Okinawan karate to be like, okay, there's no way they have like a technique like that. But they might. The chances of an Okinawan karateka master being able to, like, you know, protect his family jewels in his abs is slim, but it's never zero. But yeah, that's kind of where I stopped reading. Anyway, like, after that little bout, Baki's like, damn, this guy can definitely kick my dad's ass. When, you know, just chapters previously, he'd been like, no one on Earth can kick my dad's ass. Spoiler alert, Dopo doesn't kick Yujiro's ass. Yujiro once wipes the fucking floor with him. Yeah, I remember that I stopped reading Baki. I think sometime around I think I've mentioned this before. I stopped reading Baki sometime around the arc after he defeats like the weird demon ape that just so happens to be living in the mountain. Where God, that arc is really fucking wild now that I think about it. Like, And this is going to be me retell. A lot of the stream might accidentally become me poorly retelling the events of Grappler Baki. So when Baki was a kid, there was like a, you know, Yujiro was very invested in making Baki into the one dude who can kick his ass because, I don't know, he's a freak like that, and decided to use his own son for it. And, you know, Baki is actually very into this idea. He's like, yeah, I'm going to kick my dad's ass someday. Why not? I'm going to train hard and be the best fighter that I can be so I can do this. Which is great, I guess. I don't know how to feel about it personally. Anyway, he gets into a fight with like this Yakuza thug, beats his ass, and then his dad fridges his mom and is like, ha, if you wanted any more motivation to kick my ass, well, this is it. And Baki's like, well, I'm definitely gonna kick your ass now, Dad. And he goes off into the mountain to train with one of his dad's friends, who is like, I'm pretty sure supposed to be a stand-in for Andre the Giant? Anyway, he goes to train with his dad's friend in the mountains. And for some fucking reason, his dad's friend gets got by this weird-ass baboon thing that just so happens to be living in the mountain and is apparently on a human level of intelligence for some reason. And Baki's like, well, I'm going to need to kick this monkey's ass before I kick my dad's ass. And then he does that. He trains for like a month and eats like way too much food and then bulks up like a brute at the tender age of 13 years old. It's hilarious to me that like a 13-year-old fighting a murderous gorilla isn't even like in the top 10 list of weird shit that happens in Baki. I think that Baki is a lot like JoJo in that the people who like it enjoyed it because like there's really nothing else like it on the market. There are some things which are just so unapologetically sincere and just wild in how they behave that I feel like you either enjoy it or you will never understand it. And personally, I don't think that's a bad thing. I feel like everybody needs that sort of thing where they can just kind of enjoy it to themselves. Being able to share your enjoyment with something of others is all well and good, but I feel like it's also a privilege to be able to enjoy things for yourself personally from time to time. Like a fine wine that nobody else enjoys. Nobody else but you, that is. Hmm. Okay, I'm gonna make these few strands of hair like taller and hide away less of her foresight. Okay, here's a question for me. Okay, do I move the neck or do I move the head? Because I feel like the head is a little too broad. There we go. I think that's a good one. I might just need to decrease the size of the skull overall and increase the amount of neck that I show. I think that might be the way. Yeah. Whenever I decapitate people like this, I like to just drag the head over to the hand and kind of like compare sizes there because I feel like that's a good reference for how big the head should be. Let me check the dialogue on this page, just real quick. It's hard for me to believe that like we're at page 9 already. I feel like I was in page 4 just yesterday. Hmm. Something about the proportions on this feel off. I think it might be the nose. I think like I need to make the nose move around the shapes just a little bit. Not make it smaller necessarily, just like define it a little better. I also don't know if I should do the eyebrows like this, or if I should like turn them up a little bit. Somehow it also feels like I've made the head too small now. Like it feels weird there. Just a little bit. It's always hard to like selecting the parts of the head at a distance. So I should not do that. Or I should just get better at drawing the head better on the first pass. But who's got time for that? What am I, some kind of artist? I always feel like I was missing like a part of the face right here for some reason. But I can't place what it would have been. It can't be it can't be a nose because that's there already. It can't be an ear because the other one would be covered. Hmm. Did I forget part of? No, no. She has all the face parts. Let me flip the canvas. Maybe that'll enlighten me. Oh, I see what happened. I made the chin jut a little too far out. There we go. That feels much better. Okay, so then after that, let's see. Let's draw the jetpack next. There we go. Is that the general shape of it? Yeah, no, it was. Okay, I'm just overthinking things. Okay, that's gonna fold in like so. Yeah, I give way too many characters undercuts, given how much I actually hate having one myself. Don't get me wrong, they're very fashionable haircuts, but I just don't like... You know, if I have my hair cropped close, I want to be able to feel that peach fuzz all the way around. Hypothetically speaking, if I had hair. Imagine that I have a wig. If I had a wig... Yeah. God, I remember when like undercuts started getting popular at first. Fucking Macklemore is to blame for it, I tell you. Okay, bring that around like so. Hang on. I think my captions are having a moment. Let me try something. Hello, hello, testing, 1, 2. Uh-oh. Maybe I need to like sneeze or something to reset it. I want to try and get better like captions for myself. Oh, I've got an idea, hang on. Maybe now? Okay, no. It is weird, like, I feel like sometimes my captions, there's a phrase my parents use, which is like "le dio la chiripiorca," which means like it just went completely haywire. But yeah, so I want to get better about having those subtitles for like, you know, people who are hard of hearing, especially finding one that like picks up what I say specifically. I don't know if you've noticed, but I quite enjoy talking, if to no one else, myself. Yeah, that's another thing that surprised me is that like when I was first talking about like yeah, I haven't always felt like very confident like talking to myself on stream. The people I know are like, but you're like really good at it, or you know, you always seem to be talking somehow. You're good at like maintaining the conversation. It's always, you know, it's no good to self-appreciate, right? Self-appreciate, even I fall victim to it from time to time, but it's not good to do it consistently because you know, not only will you maybe end up believing what you say, but also other people will end up believing it too. Or you're putting them in the rather uncomfortable and rather negative position of either being the person who tells you, yeah, you're right, you suck, or, you know, you're trying to bait them into saying like, no, you're nice. And like that puts a lot of emotional responsibility on them. It's not good, right? It still happens from time to time. I admit that I also do it from time to time by accident, you know, not with any ill intent. Sometimes it just like, I think it's like the funniest thing I could say at the moment, which is something that I also need to fix. Lots of areas for improvement, but we'll get there. But yeah, that aside, it is always nice when somebody compliments you on something that you either thought you sucked at or that you didn't know that you were that good on. Yeah, it's one of life's smaller joys, I think, that sometimes you are good at something and you don't even know it, or you are better at something than you actually think. Yeah, I hear that. I feel like that's a thing as well for like a lot of artists, right? Like I personally like enjoy making like little stockpiles of art that I enjoy, that I find interesting and cool looking, you know, from just about every source that I can. And very consistently, a thing that I see pop up is that people are like, man, I wish I could draw like you. And I feel like that's a very high compliment. Because some people are good artists and they know they kick ass at it, like myself. But other people aren't too happy with their visual styles, or they might not be their own biggest fans, as you often have to be. So I think it's always a good vote of confidence for them to hear someone say, "I want to draw like you." I will say though, like, if you are self-depreciating, obviously, like, try to wean yourself off of it, right? Oh, hey, my captions are back. Nice. But yeah, like, obviously, if you're self-depreciating, I think you should wean yourself off of it, if at all possible. But as well as that, like, I think the worst thing that you can do is self-depreciate directly after somebody complimented you on something. Like, just pull the, like, 50s boomer, "aw shucks, that's nice of you to say" thing, if you have to. But, like, don't ever say, like, "no, you're wrong, I suck at it," because that is, like, really insulting. Like, I feel like that's not good. It belittles the person who is complimenting you, and it belittles yourself. So really, nobody's winning. Hmm. Hang on, I might have beefed something right here. Okay, there we go. Man, I've been seeing, like, some screen caps of the new JoJo part floating around, and apparently they talk about fucking spam onigiri, which is, to me, a horrific concept. Apparently it takes place in Hawaii, which explains why spam is present. But spam onigiri, no, 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 no. That's got no written all over it. At least to me, Apparently, some dude in the series must like it. Let's see. Oops. There we go. Wait, no, that creates a tangent with the line there. Let me redo that one. There we go. All right, first turn it around. Maybe over here. But yeah, reading about seeing the phrase spam onigiri actually made me want to make some onigiri, which might be difficult because I don't have any Japanese style rice or short grain rice in my pantry right now. Yeah, I reckon you need to use a rice with, like, a lot of, like, gluten or starch, because of the fact that onigiri needs to kind of, like, hold its shape, right? I wonder how well onigiri can freeze. Probably not too well, actually. I know that when you freeze things that have, like, a high water content, they tend to get gross when you defrost them. Let me search that up. Hang on. Oh, hang on. Let's see. Okay, let's see. After wrapping the... Okay. I pre-portioned the brown rice that I cook 5 cups at a time in a pressure cooker into 1 cup and half cup portions. Using scoop-style cup measures, after wrapping the plastic wrap, I leave them until they have cooled down, then double bag them in zip bags and put them in the freezer. This amount lasts the 2 of us 2 to 3 weeks. Okay, reheat it in the microwave before stuffing it in the box. Pre-proportion the rice like this really helps to control portion sizes. When you're in a hurry in the morning and scooping hot rice out of a cooker, portioning into a cup becomes a hassle. Huh. So you can freeze rice. Didn't know you could do that. Didn't know that was legal. My ass better watch out for cryogenesis then. Yeah, I don't want somebody to Walt Disney me and then suddenly try and bring me back to prove that it works. There are quite a few cryo... I call it cryogenesis. I don't think that's the right term because it's not generating anything. Cryostasis, I think, might be the correct one. I'm not up to date with that stuff. I'm not interested in living forever. After all, I work best under deadlines. No, it is cryogenics. Right, it would be cryogenics because that's... Okay, it's definitely cryogenics. 1, because the closed captions are picking it up, and 2, because otherwise it'll be cryogenetics, not cryogenics. But yeah, I guess this means that I would survive a frozen wasteland if nothing else. Which is a pretty handy trait that I guess I now share with like tardigrades or something. Yeah, being able to survive in extreme circumstances doesn't mean that they're your optimal ones, right? Tardigrades don't like surviving nuclear explosions as much as anyone else does. They're just better at it. Wait, no, it's cockroaches that survive nuclear explosions. That always seemed to me like such a whack-ass fucking thing, that like roaches can apparently survive nuclear explosions. You know, I feel like of all the animals, it makes the most sense and like also the least. I feel like it makes the most sense logistically because if you're just like a tiny little cockroach, right, you're not gonna give a shit if like the wall comes crashing down. You've survived worse. You can probably survive getting flung across a room before anything even rattles you. I saw a TikTok earlier that was reposted to Tumblr of somebody who was like preserving, or not even preserving, but like bathing ticks at like this like bug cleaning, not even bug cleaning. It was like a research lab, and they were trying to like wash these ticks that they used in their like studies. Because, you know, their ticks can't really protect themselves. Although, granted, they do see you as gigantic, just massive Capri Suns. You know, they can't really, they don't really have anyone looking out for them. So it's good that the scientists can step in for that role. But that said, apparently they clean them by putting them in like this washing machine thing. And the tardigrades don't even really seem to mind it. They get a little concussed, a little confused, maybe a little dizzy, but you know, nothing bad happens to them. So it's like if you spin it in like a office chair for too long for them. Which is good, you know. Even though ticks aren't like the most noble of creatures, I don't want anything to suffer unduly. You know, lots of things can still feel pain. It's not great for them. Okay. But yeah, because like after I saw that, I'm like, okay, yeah, then the cockroach making surviving nuclear explosion things actually makes way more sense. Because if like ticks can survive that kind of like, you know, vortex of doom and treat it as like a trip to the local bathhouse, then it makes sense that roaches would be able to, you know, tank a large concussive blast like that. You know, it needs to be like a direct crushing force, like a rolled up magazine or something for them to really like notice it. It needs to be directed and malicious. I reckon we should send more bugs out into space just to fuck around. You know, we've sent plenty of stuff up there. We've sent monkeys, we've sent dogs, we've sent like humans up there. I reckon we ought to just like launch a bug pod into deep space and see what happens. And hey, if the bugs return mutated from the starlight and radiation, and they come to take over Earth, well, I'd say we've earned it. Hello, also Lamau. What? Don't worry about it. I'm definitely not like in league with a bunch of weevils who are living inside of my rice. Don't worry about it. Anyway, hi, Care Bear, see a bear. I'm gonna call you Bear. That's your name now. Scared. Listen, it's fine. The bugs won't be back in like for like 200 years from the space pod that I sent out into space. After 200 years, so then you're on your own. I mean, really, how bad could bugs be at running Earth? I already think of I already think of I already think of most politicians as fucking insects, so why not? Yeah. You know, politicians have a lot in common with the noble insect. Both are technically spineless. Okay, I think that's I think that's the last. That's like the extent of the joke that I can make before it starts getting weird and or gross. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know too much about insects. I wasn't a bug guy growing up. I wasn't one of those dudes who was like interested in bugs. I was interested in dragons. I was a dragon guy, but like those aren't real, except in our hearts. Yeah, I had the. I keep coming back to this idea. If anybody's played the game Undertale, you remember how one of the characters in Undertale was this person who was like convinced that anime was real, right? Like I keep coming back to that idea, and I'm imagining somebody who does think that like the shit that happens in Dragon Ball is 100% factual and like a document. Like they think that Dragon Ball is like a documentary. First of all, I would like love to study them in a lab, and second of all, that did give me like an idea for a joke where like somebody's like trying to pitch different like anime style moves to somebody, and the other person has to like break it to them that like anime is not real, and they're like, wait, what? And you know they kind of go through the laundry list of like different anime tropes where like they're like, wait, so if you set yourself on fire, no, you won't gain fire powers. And if you start screaming and like channeling your chi's just your breathing. That's not real. The power of love? That's real! Like, that's the punchline, that, like, they don't want to break the immersion of the power of love. I need to draw that comic someday. The characters that I have around for it are still, like, still have more or less that characterization. And even if they don't, I can always change that. Let's see. Something's bothering me about this leg. Let me just, okay, let me try doing over this boot. Okay, I think I know what the problem is right here. Neither of them are like, okay, Hawk is no longer bent over enough to kind of justify her height right here. What I could do, hang on, I've got an idea. What I might be able to do is actually, hold on, I'm having like a Jimmy Neutron brain blast moment. You know, first I could like literally rotate her a little bit more. That should still be within like the arms, what do you call parameters? Brain blast! There we go. Yeah, there we go. Okay, that works. That works. That's step one of my ingenious plan. First, I rotate the body. Then I grab the body. Then I sit on the toilet. No, that's... The danger with making, like, references to movies in, like, from, like, when did Despicable Me come out? No, hang on. I feel like that definitely was, like, after 2010, right? Hang on. No, 2010. Yeah, exactly 2010 is when Despicable Me first came out. Right. So the risk that I run into with referencing media from the early 2010s is that now there are definitely people who were either not interested at all in that media. Like, the thing is, right, I hang out with like a fairly wide, diverse age range of people. You know, I know like people who are like 25-year-old, 26-year-old, 2019, etc. There's like a wide sample size of ages. I mean, generally all within like the early 30s, you know, early 30s and everything. But even that means that like we have like people who were born either before, no, not after, but like, you know, born before that movie was like still being shown around. And essentially, my concern is that one day that meme is going to become irrelevant, and it's just going to be like me talking into like thin air, essentially. You have to be very wary about like the half-life of like memes, essentially. The kind of usability of memes as they kind of age and get older. I mean, there are some memes which are just like phrases which can be used at any time, but like some of them required like specific contexts. Literally a young adult. Now, that feeling doesn't go away is the thing. Like, the thing is, right, I'm starting to believe that the 20s, your 20s, or anybody's 20s really, are going to be one of the most stressful periods of their life. Mainly because you're still figuring shit out, and a lot of society expects you to not have a whole lot of, like, support during that time. I mean, to be fair, I've been lucky enough to have like a very supportive family, like a very supportive friend group. Again, another one of those things leading back to the conversation about like the benefits of live streaming. As a streamer, I found like a lot of people who get me, so to speak. So I don't feel like, even though I don't talk very much to other people, I don't feel alone. I feel seen, right? And that's been a big benefit. But, I feel like for a lot of people, they don't really receive that unless they go out of their way to look for it. Yeah, one of the risks about, like, the thing is, when you hang out in like a VTuber space, a lot of the people are already kind of like inducted into the things that you know about. When you're in like a room full of strangers, right? You don't know what everybody's references points are. Sure, there are some like safe balls, right? There's some underhanded pitches, like Star Wars. Star Wars is a thing that most people more or less get. Even if they've never actually seen the movies, they know, like, they know who Darth Vader is. They know what like a lightsaber is. Assuming you're talking to like somebody who's like living in like the Western world or some shit, obviously it's not going to be true for everyone, but like most people understand Star Wars to an extent. It's one of those things that like acts as like a good reference point between people. But when you're in like specialty spaces like VTuber spaces, VTuber discords, etc., most people already have some knowledge of what the hell you'll be talking about. Like if I talk about like Grappler Baki, there'll be at least one, and like I say that into like a VTuber server, chances are there'll be at least one person who's also knows about it or has read it. And I cannot overstate how good that is for me personally. Because I like, the thing is, right, as well, once you kind of get outside of this bubble, you realize that nobody really like, and I find this is true for a lot of like specialty media, like Gundam and shit like that. But like once you step outside of that bubble of people, you're going to run into a lot of people who don't know what the hell you're talking about, or even anything approximate to it, right? It's like how like physicists will be like, oh wait, or not even like physicists, but like geologists are like, what, you don't know the 3 types of rock? And to an extent, I think that's probably a good thing. If you were surrounded by people who understood you all the time, right, you wouldn't need to force yourself to understand others. Being around people who you don't fully understand, and understanding them in turn and them understanding you, helps develop your empathy. That helps work that. And like it lets you learn things that you haven't learned before. Like, for example, I have a friend who's super into cinema. He's a great dude. He's a very friendly guy. He's been showing me like these black and white movies, Buster Keaton, Andrew Lloyd, those types of dudes. I would have never sought those things out on my own, but he keeps showing them to me, and I'm very grateful for it, because I've never, I'm interested in it. I haven't like, I wasn't interested in them before, but I wouldn't have sought them out myself. I wouldn't have thought about seeking them out myself. So that's why it's also important to engage with people outside of that bubble. Not to mention, it also brings the benefit of like being able to meet them face to face. Being online a lot has its benefits, but I think like it also brings its fair share of compromises which aren't always healthy in the long run. So, annoying as it really is that everything needs to be in moderation. That always pisses me off so much, that everything in moderation really is just the key to everything. Yeah, the only thing that I can think of that might not be the case for is maybe sleep. Yeah, balance, exactly, balance. Like, I don't know if there's like bad thing, I don't think there's like necessarily any negatives to sleeping too much, other than maybe you have too much time, too little time in the day. But even then, I don't know. Maybe I'm just coveting the things I can't have. I imagine that somebody who sleeps way too much has dissimilar feelings. Yeah, it's kind of like how in Pepto-Bismol, right? Pepto-Bismol is named that because of the bismuth it contains. Bismuth is a type of metal, question mark? But yeah, bismuth is a type of metal, and it is in minute quantities. So, like, Pepto-Bismol has it, like most it's like one of those things that can like settle your stomach, I think, due to like some of the chemicals in it or whatever. But like Pepto-Bismol has bismuth in minute quantities. Okay, something's fucking me up about these pants. All right, let's see here. But yeah, or like iron supplements, right? You wouldn't eat a raw hunk of iron unless you're like fucking. I don't even know somebody who would eat a normal. Anybody who would like normally eat a raw hunk of iron. That just seems like a weird thing to do. But yeah, you can take iron supplements, and those will help your circulation, and also make you. I tried taking iron supplements one time because I figured that like I wasn't feeling too hot, and I figured that maybe taking some supplements might help with that. They made me super nauseous, and apparently that's a very common side effect. God. That reminds me that I do need to find like a doctor to do some blood work for me. I don't think there's anything wrong with me, but it never hurts to check if I'm deficient in something. Yeah. No, I should probably wait to do that until after I figure out a couple of other things. Yeah. I've actually been thinking about it a little bit. I've been thinking about tax season coming up, right? I figure that eventually, if I get good enough at being an accountant, I might be able to just become like an accountant for VTubers. That would be fun. I feel like I would enjoy that as a career opportunity. Some people learn to like, some people learn to do space stuff because they watched a lot of Star Trek growing up. I want to learn. I want to become a better accountant because I want to do my Oshi's taxes. Yeah, you're 12 months subscribed to her membership. I file out her W4s. We are not the same. That'd be quite a flex, but honestly, it would also be quite demanding, I imagine. Normal people don't become VTubers, it's the thing. I've mentioned this before. It takes a certain something to be wrong with. Wrong might not be the right word. It requires a special kind of mindset to become a VTuber. Not just because, like, you need to enjoy anime and all that. That's not really, like, a mindset thing. Anybody can do that. But I feel like it's the deliberate act of, like, kind of... no, it is definitely partly the anime thing. But yeah, I'm just saying that the people with that kind of mindset might not be best at like saving receipts and everything. I would have to become like a full-time accountant for them, and not everybody has the kind of scratch for that. Yeah, there is also the idea of like managing an entire agency's finances, but at that point, I'd be more like a corporate tax guy, corporate like accounting guy. By the way, I would like to mention that this thing about like normal people don't become VTubers, the only exception to this is myself. I'm the most normal man on earth. I am normal. I am normal. I am so rad and statistically average. I am not an outlier. I am not an outlier. I want you to imagine me just like waking up, like practically half dead, and just like going to the bathroom mirror, gripping the white knuckle, gripping the sink, saying this, like as a daily affirmation. Yeah, no, something's weird right here. I think it's a belt. It's definitely the belt. Okay, hang on. Like, now I've made the midsection too long. Hang on, let me just like that. There we go. Yeah, that's a lot better. Let me raise that butt up a little bit. Yeah, no, I think it was definitely the pants that was bothering me. The midsection that was like it almost felt like one of those like sticks that had like 3 sections, you know, from like the 36th Chamber of Shaolin. I've always wanted to see like an expert handle one of those. I feel like those would be like even harder than like nunchucks or anything, because you also have to use them like a staff. Yeah. I think I might have once told an incorrect apocryphal story one time where like the reason that so many Shaolin monks practice martial arts is because like, you know, I think the reason that I gave one time was that apparently, you know, because like China had a lot of like wars over its unification, eventually there was this cycle of like dudes going to war, becoming soldiers, and then not really having anything to return to. So instead of like, they didn't have any land or anything because of the feudal system. So instead they just became monks. And, eventually the monks also needed like they were meditating for so long that they needed like an exercise regime. This is all completely incorrect, by the way. I need to clarify that the story that I'm saying is completely incorrect, because it turns out that apparently monks have more or less always been martial artists. Because the thing is, right, Buddhism was originally from India, or at least the earliest versions of it was from India. And that got sent over to China. And the thing is, I think it was like also from China to Japan. I don't remember exactly how it worked, but essentially, the Buddhism was spread by pilgrims and missionaries, and these Buddhist missionaries, well, a lot of bandits on the road seem to think they were easy pickings. So a lot of the Buddhist pilgrims ended up needing to learn how to use martial arts in order to defend themselves on their pilgrimages and their missions, which is why so many of them know martial arts. It's just been kind of retained as that thing. There's even a weapon called the monk's spade. I don't remember the Chinese name for it. Hang on. Yeah, this thing. Yeah, there's a martial weapon called a monk's spade, which looks like this, which is also called the Yue Yachan, crescent moon spade. It's a type of weapon which apparently the reason it looked like this was because this side here, the one with the crescent moon, was supposed to be used to fend off animals by like grabbing them by the neck. Meanwhile, the spear-looking side over here actually served a dual purpose of being a weapon and also being able to bury corpses and give them their last rites on the journey. So yeah, that's cool. Yeah. That being said, I do remember that there is an apocryphal legend about this. Okay, there's this one set of exercises called the Yijin Ding. Yeah. apparently when they were first introduced and spread among the peoples, apparently the story going around was that they were found. Okay, and this is wild, right? Apparently the story that they gave out was that some dude was apparently digging up the grave of one of the Grand Masters of the temple. But among the possessions of the Grand Master, they also found the kind of instructional manual for doing this exercise. First of all, homeboy, what were you doing digging around in the Grand Master's fucking burial site? Yeah, apparently they did that in order to like give it more credence, right? They wanted people to use this exercise set. So they were like, yeah, we found this in like this dead master's tomb. Which to me is like super fucking weird because like what were you doing in there, my man? What were you doing in there? Like, bestie, you're not supposed to dig up graves. Hang on. Let me see. Let me see if I can find this exact thing. Let's see. Okay, I can't. I remember reading that story in Wikipedia. I guess they must have removed it because of it. It wasn't like. Hang on, maybe it's another one of these. No, I guess they must have removed it. Damn it. But yeah, anyway, I remember reading somewhere that apparently the reason that they told people like they found this thing in some dude's grave was because like it was supposed to lead to more credence. Okay. I am wondering what I should do with the other arm. My original idea was to just have it down here, but that makes it look a little bit like she's like just a corpse. And the other idea was to like have it on one of the knees, but that's not going to work with the way that the knees are arranged. So I think I'll just have it kind of like casually leaning on the pillar over there. God, speaking of like Wikipedia changing the contents of their article, I still remember the most triumphant version of this. You know, there's been plenty of lows, like the thing that I tried to look up just now. You know, I can't find it anymore. I'll need to find it, or else I will never know peace. But anyway, one of the most triumphant versions of this is that there is a Wikipedia article for the ultimate fate of the universe. You know, there's a lot of different theories going around. You know, the big crunch, which is said eventually reality is just going to fold in on itself and we'll all be reduced to the singularity from whence we came. Not the greatest outcome because it sounds kind of sucky in more ways than one. Oh ho ho. There's the big freeze, which is a very likely one, which can happen. Essentially, at some point, every single star is going to, you know, kind of fizzle out or get eaten by a black hole. And at that point, the universe is just going to eventually become, you know, the thing is, right, the universe, and a lot of people don't understand this, is very much infinite. There is infinite universe out there, but there is a finite amount of heat. So once that heat starts to get into that wider universe, it becomes very difficult to kind of get it back in one place. So the idea is that eventually, like, heat dispersal is just going to chill the universe down to 0 Kelvin, and everything's just going to, like, no longer... It's going to be too cold for there to exist anything, including black holes. Yeah. Fun fact, black holes can be devoured. Like, you know, obviously one black hole can eat another black hole, but also... Yeah, all things got to come to an end eventually, which sucks, but hey, that's just how it goes. But yeah, apparently black holes can be devoured as well. There's this thing called like Hawking radiation, where if you make the... Because like a black hole is essentially a big, dense mass, right? But it also has a little bit of heat. And if you make it way too cold, like, you know, 0 degrees Kelvin kind of cold around a black hole, it will also, you know, there's going to be some funky stuff going on with the particles in there, and eventually they'll escape. And that's called Hawking radiation, and eventually enough particles will escape that the black hole will evaporate. So yeah, that's how you kill a black hole. You wait for it to evaporate, basically. But yeah, anyway, I remember reading that when I was like 13 and being like, well, fuck, the universe is going to end one day. You know, that was kind of a big shocker to me. I thought the universe's whole thing is that it didn't end. But yeah, I read that, and I read like a section of it which said like there was like a Poincare reoccurrence theorem, which essentially means that like, you know, all things the same, a system will eventually come to replicate itself over time. So when, you know, there's going to be like a spontaneous thing, you know, quantum is wacky as hell, and the empty universe will have nothing but time for such an event to happen. But essentially, a new singularity is going to appear at some point. There was like a little section of that in Wikipedia, and 13-year-old me reading this was like, well, thank God there's at least a little bit of hope for the universe to go on. And then I read that there was like a little question mark next to that, which was the first time I'd seen one of those in a Wikipedia article. And what they mean is that evidence, that claim needs to be like verified, right? You know, because I thought that Wikipedia was like, you know, the all-powerful, all-knowing encyclopedia that can be edited by anyone. You know, I know better now, but Wikipedia is and was very reliable still. Anyway, there was basically a bunch of discussion going on the Wikipedia page for that, where they were going back and forth saying, yeah, but, you know, we don't really have evidence that this will happen. Well, there's a little bit of evidence. Yeah, but it's not like concrete. Like, they were just having and hawing and like going back and forth on it. So I kind of tuned out of that conversation. I was like, all right, I'll let these nerds sort it out, and then I'll check back a couple of years later. And I checked back a couple of years later, and then there was no more little question mark. It is more or less certain now that something like that will happen. And even if it isn't certain, the universe is weird enough that, given nothing but time and just an empty expanse. Yeah, the trouble of science. Yeah, I'll leave the existence of mankind to the nerds to figure out. But yeah, apparently we do have evidence now for the Poincare reoccurrence theorem and everything, so we should be fine. At least I'm personally not worried. Particularly since I'll probably be long, long dead by then. My lifespan may be tied to the sun, but even that old jerk won't last forever. And certainly not until everything else hits 0 Kelvin. Okay. Perfect. How are we for time, by the way? We still got like 20 or so minutes. I'm gonna take a sip of water real quick. Hang on. Wait, am I back? Okay, yeah, my mic's back on. Sometimes I feel I've talked about this before. I have a little toggle on my headset that lets me see whether or not I'm talking. But sometimes, you know how like sometimes you'll be like holding your keys in your hand as you leave the apartment, and it will be like, "Fuck, did I forget my keys?" It's exactly like that with me and this toggle. Like I'll be like, "Oh my god, did I forget to turn off the toggle?" I'll leave the expression alone for now. Okay, this part's just about done. We can focus on this next panel then. Yeah, this one I don't think I'll need any, what do you call, references. Oh, right, the helmet. I almost forgot the helmet. Hang on. All right, let's just bring this guy over here. I love rotating the helmet. It's so inconvenient. Yeah, I don't know how I ported this. So the thing is, right, I made this helmet acid myself, but the thing is I put the kind of like toggle thing for it all the way down here for some reason. Somehow. So now it's like a big old. It almost feels like a Resident Evil puzzle. trying to manipulate this thing. There we go. But yeah, wiggling this thing, because of that, it feels like a lot like manipulating like a big... The only thing I can compare it to really is like a Resident Evil puzzle. Like it feels like I'm supposed to be aligning this thing in such a way that it'll hit the light at 4 different angles in just the right way, and it'll make like a picture of a mosquito-looking thing. I did always wonder, is that what like the Blagas logo in Resident Evil 4 is supposed to be? Hang on, like... I feel like it... Hang on, Blagas symbol RE4. Yeah, this thing. Like, I always read that as a kind of mosquito-looking thing, but it's supposed to be like a... What do you call it? The... Hang on. It's supposed to be like like this parasite here, I think. Yeah, you can see it because of the... Like, I always read this as like wings, right? And because plaga is like plague insect or like pest in Spanish, I was like, surely it must refer to the ignoble mosquito, which is a great thing to kind of like compare a zombie to. But no. Apparently, plagas in this context means cattle. And that's supposed to be like the weird fucking facehugger wannabe over there. I'd never even heard of like cattle being referred to as plagas. I don't think that... Wait, no. No, ganados. Okay, no. I'm stupid. No, I'm not. I just got confused. Right, the fucking infected dudes are called ganado, which means cattle. The plagas are like straight up called like the plagues. Ganado. I thought the ganado meant like the ones who had been won over because it was supposed to be like a cult thing, but no, it means like cattle, which is super cool, and I would have no questions about if I was in rural Spain. Listen, we all have our days. Sometimes you miss every shot. I should stop talking about this. I'm going to pretend it didn't happen. If you tuned in for the past 5 minutes of this video, no, you did not. I am erasing all your memories of this. Bite the dust, seal away these memories, or whatever the fuck Kira did. What happened? Don't even worry about it, homie. That being said, hang on. Okay, there we go. Man, I hate Wikia sites because like I still have the one open for the plagas, and I see some weird little video shaking its thing at the bottom of at the corner of my vision. Get the hell out of here. Alright. Anyway, where were we? Right, the helmet. Yeah, I want to believe it has at least a little bit of padding visible on the back here. Okay, and then just kind of circle that back around. Have the little, like, flap helmet thing up there and the goggles over here. Perfect. Now nobody will be any the wiser. Actually, hang on. Let me look at a cross-section of a motorcycle helmet just in case. I've never actually seen the cross-section of a helmet. This ought to be cool looking. Yeah, look at that. Oh, that is weird. Yeah, you can see that all of this is like just the plastic that's padding your skull, and the actual like material, like the actual thing that wraps around your head is like right here. Yeah, it's cushioning. Yeah, okay. Okay, so the part in front actually would have like a kind of like metallic thing. But like not too much. You know, it would have the snout looking thing, but not anything kind of like weird beyond that. Yeah. Speaking of Resident Evil 4, I do hear that the remake is supposed to be coming out this year? Question mark. I don't really I don't keep track of release dates too much because I almost never buy games on release. Fallout 4 taught me that lesson the hard way. They're doing a remake? Yeah. Yeah, for Resident Evil 4. Yeah, I do wonder if they're going to remake all the mainline series games. They always seem to bring in decent sales, and as long as it keeps printing money, I don't think it's going to be a problem. I do wonder if they're going to keep like the more harsher tones of like the new titles, or if they're going to keep like the weird B-movie campy shit from the original Resident Evil 4. Because the original Resident Evil 4 could have starred Bruce Campbell and not changed a single thing. You know, it would have been like the Evil Dead 3 or something. There probably was an Evil Dead 3. I know that the third movie in the series is called Army of Darkness. That's why I'm not calling it that, but like... I remember watching the Army of Darkness series when I was like 13 or so. Or not even Army of Darkness, the Evil Dead series when I was 13 or so. I'm thinking that chainsaws were the coolest thing. Yeah, that turned out to be a bit of like a Chekhov's gun for myself, being that this comic features a lot of like maids with like chainsaw-esque implements. Okay, now we're ready to move on to the next panel. Maybe like this? A lot of drawing freehand like this really is just trusting the process, because trust me, this looks like nothing right now. It has the general shape of it, but like it takes a little bit of extra work to get it to where it needs to be. Sob's hands be hard though. I found that I actually enjoy drawing hands, which I think is supposed to be like an outlier. And I've gotten a couple really good tips for doing them. I think the main one being to use the pentagon shape. So like for example, right here, right? There is like a pentagonal shape that you can use. Or actually, I was kind of visualizing it more like this almost. Right? And then just draw the fingers coming out from there. I know that like if you're more advanced, apparently you can use someone called like the glue falling off the donut trick. I bet that one had a dirtier name for it, because when the guest speaker at the con that I went to explained it to me, I remember being like, that probably wasn't glue that they were talking about. Anyway, the one with the donut is essentially like you draw like the general shape of a donut, right? And then you like draw like glue dripping off of it. Like that. You know, so like if you want to, for example, draw the rock symbol, right? Or like, you know, somebody throwing up the horns, you would draw the glue kind of like in that general, flowing in that general shape. And that provides like a pretty stylish hand-looking thing right there, which you can like, you know, you definitely need to clean it up a little bit, but you can definitely turn it into a serviceable hand soon enough. I prefer using the pentagon trick because it creates like more jagged edges, which I enjoy a lot. Speaking of which, this hand might be a little too big. I might have made this hand too big. There we go. Man, I tell you, Tuesday finishes and then the rest of the week comes and goes in a flash. Like, I don't agree that Mondays are the hardest days of the week. I think that Wednesdays take that title for me personally. Excuse me. but I do think that Mondays are the longest day of the week. Like, even if you're doing something fun, if you're doing it on a Monday, it's gonna feel like an eternity before you're finished. You know, hang on. I want to. Should I mean, that's fine as a hand. No. I should put a little bit more care into it. Honestly, I feel like you need to have more. Leave layer empty, please. I think, like, to an extent, you need to be very careful with big close-ups like this, because if you're doing like these scenes where like the characters are like a fair bit of ways, you can obscure some stuff, you can hide some stuff away, that's not really a problem. But if it's like a close-up, where the characters are the main focus, you're gonna need to really bring your A game. Yeah, can't really afford to half-ass it. At least that's my personal idea. And yeah, I definitely made this hand a little too big. That might be too small on the other hand. I think this size is just about right. There we go. Perfect. All right, let's go back. Yeah, I heard that apparently we're supposed to have freezing rains out near where I live tonight. So while that's concerning, it is kind of interesting feeling like the difference between like freezing rains, because it's like normal rains, right? You can fall asleep. People fall asleep to the sounds of rain all the time, but I feel like very few people fall asleep to the sound of like freezing rain. What's not to like? It sounds like every car in the neighborhood's going off, and it's like crashing against your window. It's fun for someone. Yeah, I feel like I haven't experienced much freezing rain where I live, honestly. Or maybe I just don't know what it's supposed to be like. Like, maybe freezing rain. I feel like freezing rain's supposed to be like rain that freezes halfway through the fall, and then it becomes like almost like hail. But it might just be rain that just freezes over. In which case, it being underpowered is kind of makes sense, because the risk of it isn't that, like, it's raining hail, because that would just be hailing. I need to like talk to a meteorologist about this. I don't know anything about this. Hmm. Okay. There we go. This is a really cute expression, honestly. I don't draw too many of those. So it's a good opportunity for me. Yeah, that's surprisingly enough. I think another thing that surprises me when people comment on my appearance as a VTuber, that some people apparently find me cute, and while I understand it, like that always threw me off because I always I always try to make myself be at least a little bit grotesque. Yeah, like I get it, I understand it, but it's rice bag. I didn't understand what I like. Like I feel like I was going for a specific thing, but I was completely like when somebody said like, "Oh, you look so cute," I'm like, "Wait, what?" That really threw me off, but in a good way. Yeah, you can't control how other people perceive you, and while we talk about that as a horrific thing most of the time, it's sometimes not so bad. Sometimes. There we go. Okay. Then over here. How are we for time? I reckon we can finish off 1,000,000. We can call it a night here. No, not quite. Then over here. There we go. Okay, then it's at the top. The sleeves would fall down like so. Oh, those wrists are way too thin. Hang on. Hang on. Yeah, look at those things. They look like an errant breeze could snap them in twain. Do some finger tip push-ups and we'll see you again. Hang on. And then over here. Hang on, I gotta... You know what? No, that's fine for wrist length. Or wrist width. Yeah, I don't know. I tend to like make people sturdier than they need to be is the thing as well. I need to watch out for that. Let's see. Here we go. I'm also going to make Amelian's eyebrows a little bit thicker. And I might make the smile a little bit wider too. Not like more... Yeah, like that. Yeah, because I feel like that gives the expression a little bit more depth as well. But yeah, that should be good for today. You know, we polished off panel 2 and then we're started on panel 3. That should be good progress for tonight. Okay. All right, let's see who all is streaming at all. ¿Qué está en línea? Hang on. Oh, hell yeah. Somebody's playing Pizza Tower. Let's go say hi. Alright. Alright, well, thank you everybody for coming by. We'll be streaming Pizza Tower on Saturday, and I hope you all have a lovely weekend. Later. Bye.